16 million colors. Wreak some havoc in your head.
Sega Saturn.
All right, gentlemen, ladies, peoples, whatever you self-identify as, we are going to jump in on this game.
No signal.
Yeah. That's just to reiterate for everybody, we are streaming through the Frame Monster. So,
Gotcha.
If we have any kind of issue like that you see, what's going on is that the Frame Monster does not handle 240p to 480i very well. Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Drop them F-bombs. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I accidentally posted the preview instead of the actual video. Oh, man.
I was gonna say, you didn't even mention us in the article.
Yeah, I'm gonna delete this.
You make me sad.
Hey, does anyone remember if up and down is normal being reverse? You know what? We're just gonna do it.
Normal is, I think normal is just up and down. It's not inverted like when you're flying an airplane.
Awesome. That's what I'm
Did anybody share to buy, sell, and club?
There we go.
I did not.
I did not.
I'll do it.
All right, ladies and gents, we're gonna get started up in this world.
Savadazo. Tomate Tokyo.
People live in terror in the living weapon.
All right. Am I not supposed to, when I go to the link specifically for the video, is it supposed to not be showing up yet?
You just share it. You just straight up share it.
Okay, because I don't see anything on it, so I don't know what I'm sharing.
For the video, is it supposed to not?
That's your voice, Brian. That's the one. Yo, Dan, you still in here with us, dog? You still kicking it? The blue, white light.
I think Dave died.
Dave?
R.I.P.
Dave's comments.
Oh I'm muted. I was muted.
Oh, you good, bro? You good? Like, why are you just gonna, like, dude, this is so evil, though. They're just, like, steadily pegging old little kid, like, little dinosaur dude. It's horrible. Like, destroy the mutants. It's the village code. It's like, this is so barbaric. And they're round huts.
Killing those crudely CGI characters.
It's horrible, man. This CGI is top notch. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Horizon Zero Dawn is shit compared to this. Freaking Flame War activate. So does anyone want to go ahead and give a little bit of backstory with the Panzer Dragoon?
Well, so there was, what is it? This is a prequel, I think, to, I believe this is a prequel to the original Panzer Dragoon, correct?
I think I heard that somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, so this is, okay, so this, they're killing off these, I don't know, beasts of burden that they have that are becoming mutated and then turning into dragons, you know? Because they fear that they could be used as weapons of war. And so this one kid takes his, I don't know, pet cow or whatever this thing is.
It's a cow!
It's maybe it's like a llama or it's like a pack animal. But he takes him. I forget, you know, somebody's going to punish me because I forgot the term of these things, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so he takes him and he hides him in a shed and feeds him and lets him grow, and then he kind of has to, like, take off and, you know, go up against the Empire when they come and, like, destroy his village.
And
He becomes the Senate.
For anybody, dude, no. For anybody who's wanting to know, we are playing this game straight 2D Japanese pad, man. We are, like, going old school. If you want me to, I will restart this and we will play with the US. No, I'm not doing that. Freaking airship dirigible. Claire, hey, what's up? Dan, you still here?
Oh,
good stuff. Dean.
If Claire is here, she can actually tell us the real story.
Yo, Claire, you should totally drop full-blown discussion, everything in the comments section. Go ahead with spoilers, everything. I mean, this game's 20 years old. It's cool.
Actually, it's kind of funny because I guess tomorrow is going to be the 20th anniversary of Panzer Dragoon Saga.
That's
which
right.
I think is pretty cool.
This is probably going to give me a whole bunch of hate, but I just really don't plan on being upgraded. I might play it once or twice.
Yeah, but I just think it's really cool. They're actually coming out with like a vinyl record for it and everything.
That looks cool.
Why don't you find it appealing, Sam? Is it just the hype?
That's a lot. Like there was a poll. Sega Lord X put the poll out. Oh, I gotta actually play that. Sega Lord X actually put a poll out the other day, and I gotta play it but he put out a post the other day asking, Dragon Force or Panzer Dragoon, which one do you like? And this game, Panzer Dragoon Saga didn't have that much replayability to me. Yes, it has replayability. Yes, it is an RPG. But in my opinion, you can only do so much with it. It's at least for me. I don't find it that appealing all the time. Put it that way.
Sure. I will say though, I was just talking to the guys last night and just mentioning the fact that I think the battle system is actually really engaging. Like it's got such a unique battle system for an RPG. And I just wish another game would come along and use that same kind of battle system.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I mean, it is very interesting how it happens. But another thing that always irritated me was like, this kind of goes back to the whole aspect of RPGs back during that time frame. The constant freaking enemies that you come across, the random encounters are ridiculous. Like, it is insane. At least to me, it's insane.
So, John in the chat is asking what are you using for capturing. I told him the Freemeister with the Game Capture HD.
We are playing this game through XRGB. We are playing this game through RGB SCART. RGB SCART is plugged into my XRGB Mini Framemeister. The Framemeister is outputting to 1080p into my Elgato capture card, and y'all are receiving it. That is how you're watching the video, good sir.
Patrick, where did you even see that comment? Because I'm not seeing. I don't know where you're seeing those comments.
There's probably multiple comment threads going on. We've got
gotcha.
Watching it.
Oh, okay.
If y'all are enjoying this, by the way, this is not me trying to like bug y'all, but if y'all enjoy this, just share it out and let's get people watching this. Let's get a conversation started. It's always more interesting if we have a discussion going on. Don't make that think that you have to. If you just want to watch, that's cool too.
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying how beautiful this game is. For I don't even want to say for a Sega Saturn game, but it's just to see this game in motion. They're just doing so many tricks with the Saturn, and just really pushing the hardware. That's something that I always think of this game, specifically Zwei, because I think that they had to, because of the size of Panzer Dragoon Saga, I do think they kind of had to slim certain things down just to fit it all. But Panzer Dragoon Zwei is such a performance piece, for the Saturn, just to show what the Saturn can do. And it still impresses me.
No, by all means, this game right here is absolutely beautiful. One thing I will say is, I'm like you. This game shines to me. It's one of the best 3D games on the Saturn, in my opinion. At least for
It is quite fun to play. Yeah, I kind of like the way it plays. I don't know. I was talking to my friend about it, and we agree that I kind of liked it better than the first one.
Well, like the other day, me and Pat were talking about how, or Simon, we were talking about how I'm going to start playing this game beforehand. And just to let everybody know, I didn't even know if this disc was going to work. That's how we were in the process of recording a live stream. Off my ass, man. We were recording a live stream, and I didn't have time to put everything in and make sure everything was good to go still. And what I had done was, instead of playing this game last night, I decided after talking for hours and hours with the Shiro podcast that I was going to go ahead and play Panzer Dragoon Zwei, which is very, very similar. It is literally the spiritual, I mean not spiritual, but it is a direct sequel. It takes everything that's great from it and adds to it.
Oh, definitely.
At least I got a little bit of play time with the actual mechanics. I wish they had incorporated the, well, it's kind of, you're going backwards. But one thing I loved about Horda was the multiple attack schemes you had. You had all these different mechanisms and ways of chaining everything together. Different attack styles and everything. That's kind of the biggest part of that game I absolutely loved.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I notice about this, and it's just coming to me now, is the way that this came out in a time when most games were using FMV cutscenes to do exposition, story exposition. And while this does have some FMV cutscenes, it does a lot of that, like, it kind of fades to 16:9 for like these really epic theatrical looking scenes, and that was something you didn't really see in games a lot, where it would do like it would use the in-game engine for parts that you didn't play. Just it has a really cool look to it. I mean, that became common with the Dreamcast when they started using in-game to do cutscenes. But it's one of the only games I know of on the Saturn that does that.
Damien, is that better audio for the
You talking to me?
No, I'm talking to Dean in the chat.
Gotcha. What chat is that? I'm in the Junkyard chat.
That is the live stream. That's the live stream. I don't know. This thing's just so many. I wish he was on.
Well, the live stream is on the Junkyard, right?
The live stream is at about 5 different places. All should be redirected.
Getting all that junk.
All that junk. You ain't no junk. All that junk up in there,
Okay, I got it now.
Oh crap, I'm forgetting my mic on the right side.
Play a title. Right. What you think, man?
Sorry, I'm eating a burrito. Yeah. I'll be on in a bit. I'm actually having trouble seeing the stream. It's like, I don't know if it's my connection. I'll try rebooting my computer, but it's just still images and it's like freezing and stuff. So I might have to come back.
Anybody else have any issues like that?
It's pretty fluid. I mean, it drops frames every once in a while.
Yeah, mine's like, I think I'm getting the drop frames. That's all I'm seeing. So, yeah, we'll figure it out.
So, Brian, are you landline or are you?
Yeah, I'm Wi-Fi because my laptop doesn't actually even have an Ethernet port. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna have to. Maybe when I get my tax return, I'll just have to splurge and get a freaking rig.
How far ahead are you, Simon or Sam, too? Because I think I'm looking at like stuff you've played.
There's about a 2-second delay. There should be
it's only 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Okay.
There should be about a 2-second delay. Oh,
Gotcha.
let's completely restart the level.
See this? See how the camera angles and everything like that? It's just so cinematic.
Oh yeah.
They weren't really doing that on. Wow. I don't know. I suppose there are some PlayStation games that the one that comes to mind on the PlayStation was Vagrant Story. They used the in-game to do a lot of in-game cutscene stuff, and it had a very similar feel to this, like kind of like a dystopian kind of muted color palette. But yeah, this game is just gorgeous, and the controls are so good. Just to think though that it's all just sprites being manipulated.
Yeah, I mean, what they were able to do.
Yeah.
But working those dual processors hard.
Yeah, so each vertice or each polygon has an individual sprite map to it. Instead of like affine texture mapping where they could take they could take an object and map a bitmap texture across all of the polygons. The Saturn would actually break out a texture into several different individual sprites and map them to each vertice. I don't know if I'm saying vertice right. No, it's each face, each like polygon face. So you're seeing the VDP2 sprite engine just move around sprites like so fast. Is it Halloween? Somebody like screamed in the background.
That's my daughter. Everybody, I have a 16-month-old daughter, so if you hear some.
I was like, this game is not that scary.
No, dude, she's having fun. That's a happy story.
Yeah.
The thought of the source code getting lost for Panzer Dragoon Saga is what made me squeal.
Oh yeah.
No, it does the exact opposite. It makes me sad that we're never gonna play this game on anything else than the Saturn.
But see, that's what we were talking about. I don't know if we were talking about it in the Vegas or. Is there no way that we can really dump the game? Like we're dumping the game.
No, you'd have to decompile it. You'd have to literally figure out a way to decompile. You'd have to brute force decompile it and find out what the code is doing. But that's not easy. And they have to want to do that too. I'm sure that Sega could find someone talented enough to do it, but they'd have to want to do it, and they'd have to decide that it was going to be a financial investment. That's always the thing too. It's a pain in the ass, honestly.
I think when it comes down to it, I think Sega's, if they're ever going to do anything with it, they would just remake it.
Yeah, they would, and I'm sure that they could. You take a look at like Blue Spot, was it Blue Point? Blue Spot, but just Blue Point, and they just did what I consider to be kind of a remake of Shadow of the Colossus, and I know they had the previous engine to work with, but they rebuilt that game with their own engine, so it is possible.
Yeah, sort of modernize it for the 21st century.
For sure, and people say, they faithfully captured the controls and just the visuals. Though, Pat, I was going to say... Actually, I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, thanks.
It had something to do... Oh, no, I was going to say... Why couldn't game companies... Even back in the 90s, they were comparing the game industry. The game industry was so proud of itself, and they kept comparing themselves to the film industry and saying, oh, we're quickly overtaking the film industry. And yet, even the film industry had the wherewithal to keep all of the old films, in canisters, like in a basement somewhere, and like archive their material for future release, right?
Well, the thing is, you have to compare the age of each of the industries. Film at the point where this game came out was about, I think it was about over that cusp of 100 years old.
Sure.
And they made their mistakes. Like all the
true.
like the majority of silent films are still missing. Mm-hmm. They all use the nitrous film stock, so they burnt like crisp. There's so many fires that destroyed so many silent films. I mean, hell, even that you remember when the King Kong thing burnt down Universal?
Yeah.
They actually lost the whole archive. That happened.
Yeah, that's a good point. They just didn't really know what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean,
because it seems laughable. It seems laughable that a game that took that much work would just kind of be like thrown away on somebody's PC.
Well, I mean, it's just a thing. Like the film industry, they put out the film and then they just get rid of it. I mean,
slow down.
They don't have any expectations of releasing it again or thinking, oh well, they're just going to use this forever. It's not a big deal. Or maybe in the future they'll have technology to play it a lot better. sort of how they had NES emulators when this was out.
True.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of speaks to a broad. Sorry, I just came in, so I missed most of what you guys were saying. But
Oh,
I feel that like plays. I don't know. It reflects like pretty heavily on the industry's mentality even today among most like Sony and pretty much any AAA developer or anybody managing online games, especially because I mean they really only give a shit about that stuff as long as it's marketable. And so once they're not able to make as much money off of it, or if they can't see an avenue to making money later on with the HD re-release or something, like they could give a shit like what happens to to the servers, and like once those servers go down for an MMO or something, like that's the end of the whole thing. Like, nobody will ever play that game again.
That's a huge issue with this whole eventually these servers are going to die. They're not going to be able to keep them. They're not going to be able to get our customers going. And without the physical media, we're going to have Panzer Dragoon Zwei.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened with Kingdom Hearts 1 as well. I mean, they lost the source code for that, and they had to do
the fuck?
That's exactly what I'm saying, is that if they can't even get their shit together back in 2000, 2001, I mean, what makes us think that it's any better today? Especially with all these games getting, the servers dying and unable to be played.
Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like there's an excuse, though, in this day and age. Or even, I don't know if, like, the 90s, like, if that, the way we, our expectations for how much data storage and whatnot, and, like, certainly there wasn't any cloud computing or cloud storage that you could back it up to, I don't think, in 98. Or at least not in the way that you do now.
Yeah, there's not even, like, I mean, nowadays, for people that don't know, a lot of the source code is managed by something called Git repositories, which are basically code bases that could save code and be able to be managed by large teams. And in the industry, usually this is where this code is stored in a cloud-based storage medium where the source code, all the master stuff's stored, and on top of that with a lot of backups. So this code, for my knowledge, is mostly safe. I mean, at least companies probably still have it lying around, but I mean, you never know when
They're
these
using that for version control, but
exactly.
But then, what I'm geeking out on lately is like these YouTube videos of guys picking up on eBay, like these old SGI Indigo machines, and they just kind of mine through it and look for old game code. And there have been some instances of them finding, like an entire game ready to be compiled,
I think Toe Jam and Earl was something like that. The third one for the Dreamcast?
For the Dreamcast, yeah. They found it on like an Indigo machine. And so, or one of those indies. All those old SGI computers are like a gold mine if you can, but then they're also collector's items, for like SGI fans. So you kind of have to like contend with that market of people that are buying them just to collect them as PCs, and the people who, like are trying to preserve this stuff and, release these unreleased games to the public.
And not to break y'all off, but anybody up in the chat, y'all feel free if y'all have any questions y'all want to ask us. It doesn't necessarily have to pertain to this game. I mean, it could pertain to anything. If y'all just want to ask the Shiro guys a question, you want to ask the Titancast guys a question. But I mean, that's what we're here for. That's half the live stream. The other play is just it's there for something to watch.
Well, my video, no, my video's not even playing anymore. I had to refresh it. Okay. Everybody else here?
Yes.
Got really quiet. I love this level. This one has branching paths.
I know, and I just got my ass handed to me. Just got my ass handed to me.
Wait, I may be late to the party on this. It looks like Sam, were you able to fix your mic thing?
Apparently, I'm still really quiet. How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I can hear you fine, but I'm also listening to you through Discord, not necessarily.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. That's kind of going out to all the people in the chat. If y'all will be so kind as to just tell me if my audio sounds better now.
And I also have the game audio muted, so.
Oh, I ran straight to that mic.
Well, Brian, your audio is good. I'm listening to it right now.
Sweet.
Just worried about mine.
I love this forest level.
That's what I was just saying.
It was pretty challenging just because things like they really did play up all the angles that you had to watch out for stuff. And then I love like how you fight that boss in the middle or towards the end. Like depending on whether you take beat him quick enough, you get to either take the shortcut or.
Hey Claire, if you are here, it seems like you are. Do you know a lot of the technical background behind this game? I'm wondering if this was done on the new Sega graphic library, or if this is just them, Team Andromeda, just hard coding away. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'd have to go out to like another resource to find that out.
What do you mean? What do you mean hard coding?
Like just talented coding, basically doing a bunch of assembly. Because
It has to be if they're talented enough to use assembly.
well, that's what you used with the Saturn. It was like old school game programming. Even the
Didn't you even use C for the Saturn? I could have sworn they had some libraries.
No, man, C was super inefficient.
Wow.
C was not a great. No, that's why people would complain that the Saturn was so difficult to code for, because in the beginning. Okay, you got to go back to. If I may be allowed to digress a little bit.
Roll with it.
You go back to when they found out how powerful the PlayStation was going to be. At that point, they were right in the middle of working on their software development kits. They pretty much just had to scratch that and say, okay, we're going to spend this next year retooling the Saturn's hardware so that it can compete with the PlayStation, just on a physical hardware level, right? So they pretty much had no time. By the time that they released and they rushed, of course, the launch of the Saturn, they had no time to actually provide developers with a proper software development kit. So they literally just slapped down huge manuals with all of the basically all the information on the chipsets, and they were like, here you go, you guys are going to be doing old school like Genesis coding in assembler. And absolutely, it was a pain in the ass. And you had some developers, like third-party developers, who would use C, because C was so inefficient on the hardware. They could really only use. There's so much overhead with C, there's object-oriented language, and there's so much load that they could really use about 1 to 1.5 of the two CPUs, rather than getting like the full power out of those CPUs. So then when the Sega graphics library came out, and I know that AM2 and Team Andromeda had something to do with the collaborated effort to bring the Sega graphics library out to like all third-party vendors, it made development a lot easier, but it was already too late because the nails were in the coffin and the Saturn was already, it was just too late. But then, so when the Dreamcast came out, of course, that's the first thing, they had developers from the beginning. It was a dream to develop.
It makes me think if this Dreamcast was actually a prelude to using that DirectX technology that later went on to go in the Xbox.
Oh, it definitely was. DirectX. Oh yeah, absolutely. They wanted. Xbox.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm getting 1 frame a second. I'm not even getting 1 frame a second. It's just completely.
Oh no, I'm getting it fine on mine.
Yeah,
dude, I'm watching it on my phone, and it's perfectly fluid for me.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's good for me, at least for now. Well, Dreamcast was Windows CE, right?
Embedded, but that just means that games like Soldier of Fortune, for example, could be easily ported over from the Windows version.
Come on,
And it
chat. I need some good vibes from the chat, man. Give me some good vibes.
You can do it.
Oh my god.
Oh, there we go. Now
No, I feel
it's funny
it.
when I enable comments, when I go into like the comments, then it starts chugging.
Hit that same freaking shit every single time.
Well, now I'm wondering if the comments are updating at the same. No, I'm seeing new stuff. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, but we can only guess what the Dreamcast would have been if it, or what Sega would have been if the Dreamcast succeeded.
Yes, that's a whole.
They would have found some other way to fuck shit up.
It's not that the Dreamcast didn't succeed either. It's that the PlayStation 2 just pretty much killed everything else in the market. I mean, you know, Sony had just positioned themselves.
I'm honestly one of the people that doesn't believe that even if the Dreamcast had a DVD drive, that it was because I mean the Emotion Engine, love it or hate it, the Emotion Engine could do stuff that the Dreamcast couldn't do.
Oh sure, but look at it this way: if there was no PlayStation 2 and it had been Dreamcast versus the Xbox came out later, I think the Dreamcast would have done just fine. PlayStation 2 was a console that people were literally just willing to wait for and not get anything.
Yeah.
They just had that built-in audience from the PlayStation 1.
And that was a
overwhelming.
massive time that they had to fight for that. At least.
And let's not forget that Sony was doing the same. They took a page out of Nintendo's book and did the same thing that Nintendo did with the SNES. They were releasing good games up until like the year 2000 on the PlayStation. Maybe even 2001, I guess. They were releasing.
Actually, I think the latest one I remember is Second Filter 3 came out in 2002.
Yeah, there you go. So I mean, we didn't really need to buy a new console right away. We wanted to have some good stuff coming out on the PlayStation still.
Yeah, I remember still buying like big games for it. And it's the same thing with whenever you went from the PS2 to the PS3. I mean, they've always been really good about keeping the old console going for at least the first couple of years of the new console's life.
Well, I mean, the Dreamcast was interesting, I think, from a competitive standpoint, because it had to compete with both PS1 and 2 simultaneously. In that, because they did it, like you guys were saying, they expanded PS1 into that, and even the way Sony strategized their release schedule, so to have like Final Fantasy VIII come out on the same day as the Dreamcast launch, that kind of thing. Like they weren't dumb. Like they knew their shit, and they knew how to like pretty much stick it to their competition as much as they possibly could, and they took every advantage it seemed.
Yeah.
So they're obviously using mesh transparencies for the light here because there's just so much. Oh, look at that shadow there. That's a transparency. This is it. Yeah, look at the true transparency. There it is. So they're already using one true transparency for the shadows on the ground, so they have to use mesh transparency for the light streaming through. But there's just a lot of cool stuff going on here from the hardware.
Oh yes. If I could stop getting hit by stuff, it'd be awesome.
How do you get your health back in this game?
That I don't know. Never really dug into it that much.
Can you get your health back? Wow.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I thought you only had what you had.
Yeah, the concession they made from a balance standpoint compared to the original was that, you could save your progress in between each level. And overall, I think this game was quite a bit easier for the most part, although the boss you're fighting now is definitely one of the more challenging points in the game, I think.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it's looking like your health is regenerating a little by little.
Interesting. I never noticed that before.
I'm happy about it.
His health bar was like on like a little inch thing, but now it's back up to almost a quarter.
Yeah, I think.
You say all that, and then look what happens.
If we have any big-time Panzer Dragoon fans here, they probably know the answer.
How many more
Yeah,
continues?
I should be. This is my favorite game, and I don't know half of all the technical shit you guys have been...
We have got to beat this game, people. How many episodes is there? I forgot.
Episodes of what? Oh, levels?
Yeah.
I think there are like 6 or 8. I don't remember. Claire.
One for each Star Wars movie. Right now we're on Revenge of the was it Revenge of the Sith? Yeah. Third one.
So in other words, I'm gonna wind up on Mustafar with all my legs chopped off and stuff.
Yeah,
Basically.
I mean you're already on the what was the place where they raced the bikes, speeder bikes?
You talking about Endor?
Endor?
Yeah, it looks like you're on Endor right now.
Yeah, kinda.
God, why do I keep hitting stuff?
Yeah, I never thought about that parallel before. Oh, Claire also brought up the Berserk attacks and how that kind of affected the gameplay a bit and changed that dynamic from the first one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I got you. So what would you guys say is your favorite Panzer Dragoon game?
This one right here. Although Orta was a close second.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed
Yeah.
Orta.
I think that's kind of how I feel too. Although I'll always have a soft spot for the first one, just because, and I know to some people it kind of seems like a tech demo. It just seems like kind of like just a glimpse of what they were capable of. But when you consider the fact that it came so early, it was a launch title, and that it's just so technically impressive. And mind you, if you look really close, you can see all the tricks that they're doing. You can see that, it's really just a bunch of illusion, visual trickery. They use, polygons for the water reflections and stuff like that. But just the fact that they thought to do that kind of stuff, and you can't understate the fact that it has that orchestral score too. So.
Yeah, I think that's what makes these soundtracks beautiful, is that they're all orchestral based. Like, I got the soundtrack on vinyl and I was expecting like shitty synth stuff, but I listened and was like, am I listening to a Saturn game or is this an Xbox game?
Yeah, even the original Panzer Dragoons, like I got the data disc vinyl.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, oh, it's so awesome.
Yeah, the original one though used a Redbook audio with the actual orchestra, whereas these ones use the Saturn's chip, and the Saturn does have a lot of really good samples, like orchestral samples, which is why it does a great job of orchestral style music. But when you're listening to Spy or you're listening to Saga, you're actually hearing the Saturn sound chip versus the first game, you're hearing Redbook audio.
Interesting.
That's definitely really interesting. I didn't realize that.
So it speaks even more highly of the fact that it sounds so good to you, Pat. That means the Saturn is actually, that makes me understand why people want to like dig in and do like Saturn chiptune stuff, because there's just so many channels and so much play. One of my favorite peripherals for the Saturn is actually the MIDI controller, the plugged into the serial port in the back.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you can get a keyboard for it, and you can control the Saturn's sound chip. There's a game called Music School. Yeah, Japan Music School or something like that.
Can you actually mod it to where you can actually just access the synth information directly?
It's so niche, but that's one of those things that James Laird Law was trying to do for Professor Abrasive. That was like the impetus of him modding the Saturn in the first place. Was that he was trying to...
I don't think I can get past this level.
Sure you can.
You can't, Sam. Just gotta keep practicing.
Just gotta keep at it.
Everybody's gonna get to see me just completely suck ass.
I believe in you, Sam.
We got 12 viewers now. 11.
Yeah, they're like, nope, this dude's done tried this level 3 times. I'm done with this.
Episode.
So let me ask you guys something. I was just talking to Pat and Kay about this last night. This game kind of, especially like that first level where you're running on the ground and you're just shooting everything.
Well, we said 20. Sorry, I'm sorry to you, Dave.
No, somebody's talking in the background.
Yeah, that's my mother. Go ahead, keep talking.
No, it just kind of reminds me of Mad Max a little bit. You know the scene where they're driving through the desert and they're all kind of chasing after them, and they're firing at firing at all the enemies, and it's just like that huge barren desert. And I kept thinking, another game needs to come along and try to mimic this kind of mechanic, either in Zwei where you're just like shooting in 360 degrees, or like Saga where you're actually moving in 360 degrees, jockeying for position around your enemy. And I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be great if another license, like Mad Max or something, came out with like an RPG that used that mechanic? I think that would make for a really engaging game.
Yeah, it always felt like that kind of mechanic was always used to mix up gameplay in games that implemented it. Usually more in a linear structure, like Uncharted and that kind of thing, where you're shooting from the vehicle.
Exactly. But not to the extent that this game used it, where it really became something that you had to think. You really had to think about it. I think you need to go back and spend some time with Saga, because I think that if you do get past like the first hour or two of gameplay, you really find what's special about that game. I don't know. It's hard for me to say that I like this one better than that, or that one better than this. They're both unique experiences. I definitely think they had to cut a few corners with Saga just to fit everything in. I feel like this is more of a showcase.
Yeah.
So I don't want to plug anyone, but a friend of mine is actually doing a game similar, inspired by Panzer Dragoon and what was the name of that one where it's like it's sort of like Panzer Dragoon on
Dragon
Genesis with the guy with the gun floating through space.
Space Harrier.
Space Harrier.
Yeah, he's making a game called Strike Harbinger.
Yeah, I played that. He was right next to your booth at PRGE.
Yeah, that I know the guy.
At K's booth.
Yeah, the guy that does it, Chris Tang. He lives in the valley with me. He's a really cool dude, but he's doing a game just like that, and I played it. And it's a blast.
He was really nice. But yeah, totally. Strike Harbinger. The build I played of it was a lot of fun. And I think it benefited a lot by having modern hardware. Like, even though it's not pushing, even though it's still clearly an indie game, it's great because it's just so fluid. And I think that extra hardware push really benefits it for that type of game. Whereas Space Harrier, I liked that game, but I don't know. I think it could definitely. It feels a little aged when I play it.
It is really beautiful. It does move really well. It's like 60 frames per second lock. The only thing I want to say about it, I don't know if it's finished or if I just wish he would animate the girl a little bit more, because she seems so stiff, And if you guys have played, what's that N64 game?
There we go.
Sin and Punishment.
Sin and Punishment. Yeah, if you played Star Successor on the Wii.
Oh my gosh.
They did more like so when
We beat it.
The legs would follow. She would kind of. I just feel like her character is so stiff when she's moving around, but that makes me think that it might be like a placeholder.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Do you know when he's planning to release it, or does he not even know yet?
I think it's still a work in progress. I think he's aiming towards the end of the year. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty much done from what I've seen. I was fine with the girl's animation. Maybe they could make
it's a small
bit more.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she moves at all. She just seems.
The last one when did you last play it?
I'll be right back.
It.
Like literally
so
2.
Pat, I didn't play it. I actually watched a video that you shared of it. And
I didn't know that.
It seemed like it was from this. It seemed like it was from, or maybe you shared it or Kay shared it. I don't know. It's from the most recent event, the most recent con or expo that it was shown at.
Yeah, I don't know what the most recent one would have been, but I last saw it at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. But that was back in October, I want to say.
Yeah, I played a little bit in at Game On Expo in Arizona and, last year in 2017. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think, yeah, I do agree that there might be some animations missing, but my thing that I liked is just the gameplay was a lot of fun. It's like arcade
Well, no, it looks,
game.
to be fair, it looks exactly like Space Harrier. Like it looks in 3D.
This level right here is ridiculous.
It looks like how the sprite in Space Harrier didn't really move. And I was just wondering if now that it's gone to 3D, if you would like put a little bit of you know, like physics in how she moves, you know, or if it was just it has a very much like, you know, classic Sega Outrun Space Harrier kind of feel right now. So that's totally fine. I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably what people want.
Definitely, and I'm kind of excited for it. And I imagine when that is released, they'll get all those details sorted. But I'm thinking hopefully it's gonna be the end of this year.
Hey guys, what do you think of this water? What do you think of that water?
Dude, that's what I'm saying. This has got to be my favorite level. This has got to be my favorite level, just from what's going on.
Like, just the Saturn was just so so powerful when it came to like scaling and moving these sprites. It's just
Yeah,
insane.
if they knew what they were doing, man, they could just blow it out the water.
No pun intended.
Really.
Yeah, but that water effect, man, like someone on YouTube did a job of explaining how that was actually working, and they turned off some layers and let you see like how it was warping and stuff like that. But it's just like, I can't imagine how much of a pain in the ass that would have been to code, you know, and yet they did it. Another developer that did a lot of the same kind of stuff was Shiny, you know, for the MDK, the original MDK. They did a bunch of like visual trickery as well. And that game was also very similar to this. I mean, it wasn't a rail shooter, but it, you know, you had the reticle.
Yeah, would you happen to have the video of that water thing? I'd love to check it out.
Oh, it's coming. I was talking about this, right? He was in an area where...
Oh no, I meant the video on the water that you're talking about where you analyzed it.
Oh, I'll have to look for it.
I gotcha.
I speak from memory a lot of the times. Yeah, I'll look on my phone. Hold on a second.
Yeah, if you have it, I imagine the chat would like to see it too.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna address somebody in the chat. Leonidas said, what Claire said about PDS must be because of Sayori Kobayashi. And what Claire said basically was, I think the percussion, especially the Sega soundtrack, will really stand out. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I definitely agree. And the cool thing is that with that new release, they're actually bringing her back, the Panzer Dragoon 20th anniversary soundtrack, and she's actually doing that soundtrack, working on rearranging it the way that she really wanted it to be.
Exactly.
So if you think this is good, or the Saga is good, then it'll be amazing once it comes out for the new one.
Yeah, so she wanted, Sayori Kobayashi, she wanted to have Red Book audio, like full orchestral score, but they just couldn't fit it on to the discs with all the other assets, just the size of the game. So that's why they had to go, they kind of had to, that was an area where they had to sacrifice and use the Saturn soundtrack, and it still sounds great. I think we can all agree, but yeah, now that, here's the water, by the way, Pat, I'm still looking at it.
Really good for the Saturn.
That's what I'm trying to say, dude. That is absolutely amazing.
That's some great effects on that.
I think that's funny. That is like the token saying though. That looks great for the Saturn, you know.
Well, I mean,
no, you're right. It's a shame that we all have to like refer it to that way because it could have been. That might not have been a thing if they just had more time to make a proper software development kit.
I mean, to be honest, I think this is even good for the Dreamcast, if you want me to go that far.
It's
definitely good for the PlayStation.
Well, here's a hypothetical for you, okay? Let's say by chance that Sega spent an extra, let's say, however, I don't know, let's say they spent an additional 2 years working on the Saturn, okay? And they were able to get 3D processing to the same way that, you know, the PlayStation was. How much of an impact would that really have made whenever Sony had the PlayStation out when they had it out? I mean,
Well, it's not just that though. It's previous mistakes that needed to not be made. Like for example, they needed to not make 32X in the first place.
Right.
Let me tell you, I have no problem with the dual processor setup. I know the Saturn could have been an SGI chip, you know, if it dealt with silicon graphics. But as it is, the twin Hitachis and twin VDPs, it's fine. But the problem is, they didn't know that it was going to be that, and so like they spent that last year. They basically had to throw away their lead and spend that entire year catching up from a hardware level with PlayStation just so that they could be competitive. And so by the time they were done, they didn't have any time to work on the software. That whole year that they were playing catch up with PlayStation was developing their software development kit with all of their built-in transparency and shader effects, with all of their built-in software tools to make it so easy for third-party developers to just come in and literally cut and paste stuff, you know, basically, because they made it so easy. Sony made it so easy. That whole year is the year that Sony spent working on SDK, while Sega spent that entire year just catching up to their hardware. And so really, I understand why Sega decided to do 32X. They were coming off of some success with the Sega CD, and realizing that okay, they had the Sega CD's Motorola processor working in tandem with the Genesis's Motorola processor, so they already had a little bit of dual processor, work under their belt, and they're like, let's stick with dual processor. But they really bet on the wrong horse with the 32X. If the 32X didn't happen, they still have a bunch of goodwill with their customer base. They spend the time that they need to put that design into the Saturn, and then spend an entire year on what we would eventually know as the Sega graphics library. And then they put it, send it out to third-party developers. Here's another thing. If you look at this 1996 website archive that I'm working on for Sega, they had like 100 third-party developers on their team at that time, because Sega was the name, and they had a relationship with other developers. And those relationships went up in smoke so quick when those third parties learned how hard it was going to be to develop this console.
Yeah, man. To address.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna agree with you on a lot of that stuff, and I'm gonna say that I think the bigger question was if they didn't have 2 more years, but if they started 2 years before and canvassed the 32X,
which they did. I mean, they did start developing the Saturn back in 1992, basically, and they started with the idea that it would be kind of like a consoleized System 32 arcade machine, and then it just kept evolving, and they kept looking at Sony's playbook and trying to see, get glimpses of what Sony was doing. So, it was literally like an arms race. But the problem is they should have just been minding their own business, keeping their heads down, doing what Sega does best, which is, the problem is Sega can't completely be blamed. It was such a disruptive time in the industry where 3D graphics were taking over in the hearts of the consumer, and people wanted 3D even if it was ugly.
Yeah.
Just because it was 3D, it was like the future.
Well, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was also wondering, how much, because, that was where the assumption was, and we always say, Sega should have, seen this coming, why didn't they anticipate 3D earlier? But I gotta wonder if they saw what, the early attempts to do that with, the 3DO, and of course, by then, I'm sure the Saturn was, well ahead of its, well into development, but to see that those consoles didn't really, they just weren't that successful, and so maybe they felt that because of that, there wasn't going to be as much demand for 3D games as maybe the conventional wisdom would have alluded.
Well, Sega, being an arcade company first, they felt satisfied to just have two branches of their company, the arcade side and the console side, and they knew 3D was big. I mean, they were the ones who put it out to the consumers with Virtua Fighter. But at the same time, they didn't realize that another company would come along and say, "Oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that at home." Oh, and then Sega's like, "Oh, are we doing this? Okay, well now we gotta okay, we weren't thinking that people were actually gonna want that at home."
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest clivettes is that it's not Sega can't do 3D. It's the thing. It's the Saturn. Can it be affordable enough to do 3D for a consumer standpoint? I mean, if it is the same stuff in the arcade machines that they had on the Saturn, I mean, vice versa. The same stuff in the arcades inside the Saturn, it would make the console like Neo Geo levels of expensive.
I mean, the thing is, the Saturn's 3D does look different than the PlayStation's 3D because it's doing 3D differently.
Yeah.
And people back in the day would argue that the Saturn is not actually a 3D console; it's just bit blitting. Like I said, it's taking a huge sheet of bitmap texture, and then it's like cutting that up into a million different little sprites and mapping each individual sprite onto a polygon face and then moving it around so fast that you think it's 3D, whereas the PlayStation has that geometry transfer engine where if they have a sphere, they can literally map a basketball texture to the entire sphere without cutting the texture up into sprites. It's rendering 3D differently, but at the end of the day, if it's 3D, what really is 3D? As long as it's all an illusion anyway.
Exactly.
You could just argue that it's like, okay, but visually speaking, I think we can all agree that the Saturn, because it has a different way of coming there or achieving that 3D, it looks different than the PlayStation. You either like it or you don't.
Oh yes.
I know Patrick, you're not a huge fan, Patrick, of Saturn 3D games, right?
Well, I'm not a fan of 3D games in general. I never really like even the PlayStation, that ugly morphing effect on the. I don't know if you ever noticed on the tiles, but
the warping.
It's like the warping, the morphing of it, where it's like it looks like the tiles are changing.
Yeah, as they get closer to the camera, it takes. Isn't it like harder to process, or it takes more memory?
That's called affine texture mapping, and that's because a lot of these consoles didn't have a true Z buffer. So the Nintendo 64 had a true Z buffer, so they could avoid some of that texture warp, whereas the PlayStation and the Saturn couldn't. And funny story, what's the guy from id Software, the dude that
John Carmack.
He hated affine texture mapping, and so he insisted that they code Doom using like the DSP or something like that in the Saturn.
Wasn't it the 6800 that was in there?
Yes. And he wanted them to do like a straight port in C of the PC code, and they had a version of Doom that was just absolutely perfect, and it was running, some would argue at the time, like better than the PC port considering the lower resolution. And he said, no, I don't like that, recode it and do it this way. And even he has gone on record saying that he probably should allow them to experiment more, because what we got was, it hardly ran, it's like 12 frames per second.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into an analysis of Carmack. He's another one of those guys. He's like us, and I can respect that he's a programmer that really wants to do it the right way and want to do it to perfection. So he sometimes makes crazy OCD and make maybe the wrong decisions.
Well, yeah, because you just have to consider what the hardware that you're working with. And, I mean, I think the Saturn was a case of one of those systems that you had to use tricks to really get a beautiful game out of it. I mean, Burning Rangers is a great example of that. How they literally did things backwards.
We were just recording a podcast about that.
Yeah, we just did a whole 2-hour game for hour.
I haven't gotten to listen to that whole thing. Did you talk about the low score boy video?
Well, he didn't even post it yet.
No, it's not. We'll post it on Wednesday. So for anybody listening, look out for Wednesday. We got our next Titan cast coming up, and it's all about Burning Rangers. Well, a lot of it's about Burning Rangers. Yeah. Oh my god, it was. Yeah, that song was stuck in my head for probably the whole duration of when I was playing through it, so at least a week and a half.
I feel like a kid in a candy store. Like visually speaking, that it's just like so bright and colorful.
Yeah.
Some people say that it's like crap, but I really
Well,
enjoy
some
it.
people have bad opinions, but you know.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, they're
well,
just wrong. They're
well, especially when you're applying, you know, modern expectations to not just the visuals, but even like control style. I mean, obviously today that would be a dual shock or a dual analog stick.
We beat it! We beat it!
That was close, dude. I was scared for you for a second. I was like,
Dude!
it slipped off left
It's not over.
Dude, it was like the last second.
Oh, it is over. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at
It's
the
behind.
feeds like behind a few seconds.
No,
So
it's...
look there. You see that
Nice.
reflection?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
actually polygon too.
Oh my gosh, that reflection is really good. I'm not gonna lie.
So they just like rendered it twice.
Exactly. It's just a mirrored model with transparent. There is true transparency going on there too. Because
Bolo,
They can only-
Bolo, no Wednesday. What?
same thing.
I have no
like,
idea. I didn't address it.
Mr. Benjamin Andrew Matlock, what is the issue with the Wednesday, good sir?
He gave us chat in anger. I don't think he likes us.
Wait, what did I piss people off?
He did a what?
He gave the chat in angry.
Oh,
Is he talking about
reaction.
Is he talking about Wednesday for the podcast drop?
Yeah.
we drop
I mean, you can
podcasts.
watch it on Thursday.
The Sega Saturn Titancast is always dropped on Wednesday. It's always going to drop on Wednesday. You can listen to it whenever you want to, but for convenience, dropping it in the middle of the week works for the most people. If that doesn't work
Sure.
out for you, I apologize, good sir.
It's just a lot of content for you, man. You got the Pat the NES Punk, you got Retro RGB, you got you got the Saturn Shiro ones.
Yeah,
Sorry, not,
and
sorry,
also
Saturn Titecast. I'm sorry.
the Titan. Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, I think any day you pick is going to be crowded with stuff.
I mean, there's so much content creators out there. I mean, there's just
Right.
there's no way to cater to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the convenience of a podcast, is that you can listen to it whenever you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just saying that it was cool. It's all Wednesday, so you got all that content lined up. It's like a TV show, like what's it, TGIF.
Oh yeah, like must see TV or whatever. That.
Exactly. So you got like what Cheers on. Which is
Yeah.
No.
Oh hell yeah, Cheers is awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to watch. Unrelated. Sorry. I actually started watching that again just because it's fun to just like do stuff and keep it on in the background.
Right.
So I'll like go back and forth. It's that and Seinfeld are my favorite shows to do that.
Yeah, Seinfeld's awesome. Another show that I like really liked from it was Taxi. So
Yes.
I'm a sucker for any good like ensemble sitcom.
Yeah, Taxi is amazing.
And Taxi, and it's held up, I think too. Like it's still pretty good.
Do they have that on Netflix or Hulu or anything?
I don't know. I have it on. I have a couple of seasons on DVD. So.
Because they gotta do that. Because
Or the
I
complete
love
series,
it.
I think.
Somebody needs to address Benjamin down there, because he is like literally.
To be fair, Coach
yeah.
was really good though.
No, Coach
I
was.
can't-
Coach
I can't.
was a good show.
I don't see him. Where is Benjamin?
He's-
I'm
he- well,
on
he-
Junkyard.
Yeah, he said that Coach is better than Cheers, and I don't necessarily know if I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I like them
it's
both.
hard. They're both really good shows for what they do.
Yeah.
Married
What the hell are
with
we doing?
children. Married with children is life.
I don't
It's
know.
cool. It's a life.
Dude, that show was awesome. And I'm like so close to dying again. Look at what y'all doing.
I didn't say
Yeah.
Full House, so I guess I should be happy about that. I can't stand Full House.
Yeah, that show, I couldn't never watch it.
But anyways, back on the topic of the Saturn stuff.
Yeah.
I died. Why?
So I think I posed this question. I don't know if I did it on the Megacast, but I was wondering if you guys ever remembered any ads or anything for the Saturn.
Dude, I think I'm one of the only people who still remembers ads for the Saturn. I mean, that's the truth. I saw a crap ton of ads on TV back when I was growing up in regards to the Saturn, and I never really. We talked about this in the Megacast. There was plenty of times where I saw Saturn-related imagery in magazines, on TV, whatever the case might be. But with the exception of my local rental store, I had absolutely never seen an actual Saturn.
Really? That it's kind of weird. It's sort of similar for me where I never saw Saturn, but I never saw any of the commercials for it, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. I mean, like I never saw any TV ads, but I always saw stuff in magazines, and whenever I went to the store, they would, especially around when like Super Mario 64 came out. I mean, you would have nights, displayed too. It's like, you'd see pretty good presence of Saturn stuff.
It was so subdued though. Like for example,
sure,
I saw a lot of Saturn stuff in Walmart. Believe it or not, back in the electronics department, you'd see at first Walmart had a really big stock of it, and then of course Toys R Us too was a big distributor. So that's where I got a lot of my games at good prices back in the day. Toys R Us.
That's
on clearance at Toys R Us, but also Electronics Boutique, which is now Is it GameStop?
It's GameStop.
Yeah, I think they bought out everybody.
So EB back in the day, when, I've told this story before and I won't digress, but it was just like Nintendo 64 and Super Mario was everything. They had a huge front and center kiosk at the front of the store, and even the PlayStation had its own thing.
Crash Bandicoot was like always on the demo units there.
The Saturn was like, they had it stuck behind one of those glass case bookshelf kind of things on this tiny little like 13-inch CRT.
Yeah, and you had to you had to stare
it
straight up to see it.
Yeah, you weren't even, at this EV that I went to at the mall, you couldn't even play it. You just were watching, kind of like the Forest demo, and still that game looked so impressive in motion. It was like moving a million miles an hour versus like Mario over here, like just jumping on trees and stuff. And I was like, it really did kind of capture the same vibe as Sonic, where it was just a lightning fast game, so much motion, so score attack, collecting orbs and going through these rings and stuff, and like not having seen anything like that before, the closest thing being like Sonic, it really did. I don't know, man, I must just be a Sega fan because that just appealed to me. It just appealed to me more than the idea of just kind of like the open world exploration thing with Mario. I thought that was fun, but I was just like, it's not all that. Like I would much more. I would. My kind of gameplay is I want to be kind of under the gun and forced to like perform or forced to score a certain number of points and timing and stuff. That's just
So you're just more an arcade guy?
I think so. I think I would say.
I kind of agree with you with that. I mean, I was always feeling the same way, where it's like I prefer a game you just pick up and go. You don't have to think much about it.
But then again, PSO is one of my favorite games on Dreamcast, and that game I can just like even play the single player campaign.
Yeah.
And just chill and play like through the forest there and just collect, Masada and collect items and stuff.
I mean, it's the same concept though, where it's like you just pick up and go, pick up the game, play a couple levels and put it down. I mean, you don't have to get into a story.
Yeah, I mean, although the levels in PSO are pretty big, so once you start one, I always feel like I have to play all the way through at least one.
There's another Kobayashi soundtrack. Of course, that's
how long have we been going for?
Hideki Kobayashi. But a wonderful electronic music soundtrack.
I hate to say this, but I gotta call it quits after that.
Yeah, I got it too because my kid just woke up. But
all right,
you want to say hi? You want to say hi to the mic? No, he's got sleepy face.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of me, all the guys at the Sega Saturn Shiro podcast, myself, Brian, everybody, Saturn Junkyard. Appreciate y'all sitting around. Appreciate y'all listening to us and babble on and such. Until next week, we'll see you then.
Sega for life.
Cheers, all.
Play Sega Saturn or die.
Or, yeah.
You're horrible, I swear.